Alrighty, everybody. It is currently, what is it, Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. It's our first episode of Black History Month. And in honor of that, I won't be doing Black Voice. Alright. And I might do a little bit of blackface, but not like blackface, not like Justin Trudeau blackface, but like, how black people make that face sometimes, that face. I mean, I know I didn't describe it and you can't see me, but like you can feel the face. Everyone knows the face. I might hit that a couple times, but that's just the nature of this episode because it's a horror movie episode. You know what I mean? Look, if I do black voice, it's honorary, all right? It's what Martin Luther King would have wanted. What even is black voice? All right? So this episode is a Midsommar survival guide. And I do want to apologize because I didn't realize that when I got a Zin in, you know what I mean, and I'm swallowing my spit, I didn't realize you can hear that through the mic. So I'm going to try to move my face away every time I do that, but my deepest condolence. That's scarier, that's more disgusting than anything we're going to talk about in this horror movie episode. So we're just going to jump right into it. So we got the plot, and the plot is going to take up the majority of the episode. You're going to get very little. I'll give it little survival tips throughout the whole thing, but yeah, the end of probably 15 minutes is going to be where all the survival tips are. So if you're in a fucking horror movie survival situation right now, skip to like the end 15 minutes if I had to guess. All right. And so our plot, we start off with Danny, who's played by Florence Pugh, P-U-G-H. It's Pug, something like that. I don't know. She got a fat ass, you know what I mean? And she got that weird smile, that chick. Who is she? She's in fucking the Black Widow movie. I know everyone saw that and paid attention to it and saw how powerful women are, all right? You fucking better have. But she's our main character in this movie. And so we start off, Danny is getting like these weird, like cryptic, like messages from her bipolar sister. And the funny thing is like, I know they did this on like purpose so that you could see the messages, but she's like emailing her sister on the computer. And it's like, dude, if I had to email someone to talk to them, even if it was like my parent, like my closest friends and family, I just wouldn't do it. Like if you get like, it's the same reason why I don't call people. It's like I have to put I have to like scroll and find it and like make sure it's the right number and shit. That's why I exclusively use Snapchat. Like if you get a call from me, that means I'm dead. I don't know how I'm calling you, but that means I'm dead. And if you get an email from me and like everything's like well written in it, that means you're getting sued. Like I'm sorry. You're getting sued for I need $256,000 and I need it now, all right? I got drunk and I fell down your stairs. And I need the hyper-specific amount of money. All right? What would this country be without the law being... I'm just a citizen upholding the law. You know what I mean? Something happened that is my fault, and now I need money from you for it. It's just the law of the land, all right? And that's going to come into play later in the episode. You know what I mean? Just be an American. Be an unapologetic American. Destroy anything in front of you. Don't conform. All right, be loud as hell. Just keep that in mind if you're ever going to another country. Because they're going to try to trick you, all right? They're going to try to pull your lungs out, sacrifice you, do something like that. Especially if you go to, like, Europe or, like, the voodoo parts of Africa. Just be a loud American. They're going to be, like, not worth it. All right, so Danny, she's getting these weird messages, and she calls her boyfriend Christian, who tells her that responding is only feeding into, like, her sister's, like, delusions and like these weird messages and stuff. He's like, if you just leave it alone, she'll stop doing it. And the boyfriend, so like a lot of people like watch this movie and they're like, he fucking deserves what happened to him, me. Because he's like, but he's kind of a dick. That's all he is. He's kind of a dick. He's really good at manipulating her too, dude. So I watched the movie and I like took down notes of what I thought was funny, and dude, he's just so good at manipulating her. Like they get into this fight, and we'll talk about it in a second. But he just hits the classic, fucking, I'm sorry. Like, what do you want me to? I said I'm sorry. He hits that one, and he flips it so quick. Like at first she's angry at him, then she's like, no, it's okay. No, dude. I should have been taking notes about that the whole time, dude. That might have to be like another episode. How to manipulate your chick, dude. So Christian is like hangs up, and he's like hanging out with his friends and shit, and he's talking to him. And his friends are Josh, who is black, which is why I was like, I'm not gonna do black. I might do a little bit of black voice, even though he doesn't have black voice. I might have to do it. Um, Mark, who's the guy with the crazy eyebrows, Will Poulter, I think his name is. Um, yeah, he's got those crazy, like those arched ass eyebrows, like a black woman's eyebrows. He's got those, and then he's got his boy Pele, who is just Swedish. That's all you need to know about Pele for now. All right, and so they tell him to break up with her, and Pele adds that there will be a lot of chicks at the Midsommar festival they're attending, which that'll come back into play. I mean, chicks is a bit of a stretch, but don't worry about it. All right, and so Danny calls Christian back a few minutes later, crying like a goat giving birth, dude. And I was like, and I've heard that before. And honestly, it's a lot more quiet than what Danny was doing. Danny was full spurting out on him, just like, you know what I mean? Sound like a ghoul or a ghost or something, calling up Christian. And so Danny's sister killed herself and her parents with carbon monoxide poisoning, which just inefficient as hell. You know what I mean? It's like, it also goes to show, speaking of Black History Month, make sure the batteries are in your smoke and carbon monoxide detectors, all right? If you're hearing that chirp, it's not a bird, all right? You need to replace that. It's not the house bird. You need to replace the batteries in your things, all right? So that's another lesson we got to learn. If you got a bipolar in the house, make sure those batteries are fucking in the detector. Maybe that was like part of her plan. She like snuck in there. She was like hanging from. That would have been a funny part they could have included in the movie. Her like going full James Bond, like hanging from the ceiling, taking the smoke detectors out of the thing. But yeah, she kills her parents, and then a few months later, Danny and Christian are at a party when someone mentions the Midsommar Festival, which is in Sweden, and it's gonna be like a few weeks, like a month and a half, I think is like the time they're gonna spend in Sweden or like Europe as a whole. I'm not really too sure. And so Danny gets mad at Christian for not telling her, and Christian puts on a manipulation masterclass, like I was saying. But he does kind of like bend the knee a little bit. You know what I mean? You're fighting a chick, even at their lowest. You know what I mean? They're still great. It's like Mike Tyson. Even at his lowest, even when he lost to Buster Douglas, he still knocked down Buster Douglas a couple times. So that's what this is. And this is a part where like she ends up apologizing to him. She's like, no, dude, it's so good. I wish I could be it. Even though I don't have a girlfriend and probably never will. And so Danny decides to go, even though she's still like super mentally unstable. Like for like in the first 30 minutes, there's probably like 5 scenes of her crying. Like every time someone mentions the word like family or sister, or like they could say like cousin or something like that, she probably boots up the Pornhub and goes, stepsister video, that reminds me of my sister. She's like getting ready to flick her bean and just starts crying. That would have been another good part that they could have put in this movie. So she's like mentally unstable as hell right now. Like obviously her sister just killed her parents and shit, and herself. So she's got nobody. Like the only person that she even remotely has is her boyfriend at this point. And there's also a couple scenes where she's like calling her like girlfriends or whatever. I don't know why she didn't just like talk to her, like hang out with them. Like I feel like that's way better than hanging out with your boyfriend and his friends who like don't really like you. Like even like as autistic as I am, even I could have picked up on that. You know what I mean? They're like always leaving the room whenever she walks in. I mean, it's like when you're at like a family gathering and like your old ass like great aunts walk in and you can like you're like, fuck dude, I'm about to get my cheeks grabbed. Not my cheeks, but like my face cheeks, you know what I mean? I'm about to have to talk about Elvis impersonators for 30 minutes. I got to get the fuck out of here. That's what her friends are doing like every time she walks in the room. And so they arrive in Stockholm and drive up to Hälsingland, where the commune and the festival are. And so this isn't like it's like a commune, but it's like super, super rural. The place they're going, Hälsingland, is like, it's not in like northern Sweden, but it's up there. It's not where like people live in Sweden. And so once there, Pele introduces the group to his brother. I don't know if it's his actual brother or if it's like a, you know what I mean? God damn it, I said I wouldn't do black voice, but it's like how black people call each other brother, or like, that's my cousin, you know what I mean? I think it's like that type of shit. And so his brother's name is Ingemar, and his 2 friends, Connie and Simon. And so Connie and Simon are like Danny and her group, they're not from the commune or anything. They're just like friends with him. And so it's you gotta like think about like the Amish. You know how like the Amish are like they let them like they get like 4 years or whatever. What's it called? Rumspringa. Yeah, these guys are basically on Rumspringa, and then they go back to the fucking commune. And the commune is very like Amish. You know what I mean? It's people dressed old timey and shit. Um, they farm and shit. Um, and so Ingmar says that their group, Connie, Simon, and Ingmar, just took mushrooms and invites the other group to join in. And so the rest of the group, Josh, Mark, and Pele, they all take it, but Danny's like, I don't know, I don't really want to take these mushrooms, you know what I mean? Which is, I mean, fair enough, dude. Even if you're like mentally unstable or like mentally stable, you know what I mean? You're in like a perfect place in life, that shit could still fuck you up. So at first Danny declines, but then she's like pressured into it. And the funny thing about this is I got to talk about shrooms again, all right? A white guy with a podcast talking about shrooms. I know, how original. But like it's very funny. So there's this scene where they're like kind of like pressuring like Danny and Christian, and that's part of it. Christian is like, if Danny's not taking them, I'm not taking them, which is that's the ultimate. It's like the wife won't love me. I don't know what you guys want me to do. It's like the wife, another classic manipulation. I don't know. He's just trying to get his friend or his girlfriend, his mentally unstable girlfriend, whose sister just killed herself and her family. He's trying to get her high on. That's not a risk I would take, dude. You know what I mean? It's like buying a pit bull. It's like, guys, I get it. Not all pit bulls are like that, but like, I just saw one rip a kid's fucking head off, dude. I don't know if I'm trying to do that right now. So maybe that was his plan. I don't know. And so they pressure her into taking it. So the rest of the group takes like regular, like dry mushrooms out of a bag, but then they give Danny a specialty. I think Ingemar, Pele's brother, who's also from the commune, gives Danny a specialty. And so this is where my first tip comes in. Know how many fucking shrooms you're taking, dude. Because that shit, if you take like 8 grams, that shit'll turn you schizophrenic. And especially if you don't know what kind they are, don't take them. Yeah, but Danny gets like this special tea, which he says it's just shrooms, but as we'll see later, I don't know what they're putting in this tea. And so the group is like tripping together, you know what I mean? But then Pele says like the group is like a family, which freaks Danny the fuck out. Like I said, the mention of a family, the mention of anything. I don't know how she rides in cars anymore, because like the sister, the way she killed the family was like she turned on the cars and she like attached hoses to like the exhaust pipes and like ran them up to like her parents' room, and then she like stuffed the hose in her mouth and like duct taped it there, dude. I don't know how the fuck she did it. Maybe it's because you get a little high off the carbon monoxide poisoning, you know what I mean? Maybe she was just trying to get everyone high. I don't know. Maybe she was like, dude, fuck it, we're just gonna chill out, watch some Tom and Jerry, you know what I mean? I got some taquitos in the microwave, this shit's gonna be fun as hell. Ended up killing the whole fucking family on accident. She was just trying to get fucked up, you know what I mean? Yeah, so she like freaks the fuck out and she runs around and she's like hallucinating, and at one point she goes into like this outhouse bathroom thing and she like looks in the mirror and like her face is all fucked up, which that's like I guess one of the big no-nos of mushrooms. I've only ever taken like a gram, so I don't know if that and I just look at the mirror and I'm like, yep, still ugly, let's go. Back to watching Tim Dillon compilations on YouTube. Which is another piece of advice I got for you. If you're on shrooms and you're freaking out, you just got to take some deep breaths, all right? Because, and same with weed and like basically anything. Like if you're ever freaking out, don't start hyperventilating, because that like freaks you out even more. Like physically freaking out makes you mentally freak out, if you know what I mean. So just stay calm, take some deep breaths, and like if you're really that fucked up, like your mind is just racing and racing, watch some compilations on YouTube. Watch Joe Rogan talks about moose compilations on YouTube. You know what I mean? Pull up Arabs drifting or something. I don't know, funny monkeys. Monkeys acting like humans compilation, you know what I mean? A monkey driving a golf cart, that'll calm you right the fuck down, because it's like, dude, nothing is a bigger deal than a monkey driving a golf cart, you know what I mean? It's like your whole family just died. Fuck all that. This monkey, look at him working that gas pedal, dude. He's pumping the brakes and shit. He knows exactly what he's doing. So if you're ever on shrooms and you're freaking out, that's my piece of advice. And so she freaks the fuck out, like hallucinates her dead sister. Like she looks in the mirror and she like lights a match or something so that she can see. I don't fucking know. And she sees like her dead sister in the mirror behind her. and then she like passes the fuck out. She's like running around. She like takes the fuck off. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever seen like a fourth grader trying to like get sniz, you know what I mean? Just fast as hell, pumping her arms, being like, I'm so fucking fast, dude. The girls are gonna love this. So that's what she does. And she like sprints. It's crazy, dude. She just hits the woods immediately. She just makes a beeline to where no one could see her. It's like a dog. You know what I mean? Like when you let a dog out, or like you accidentally open the front door and the dog runs out, the dog just makes a beeline straight for like the busiest road possible. That's basically what Danny did. And so she hits the woods and she runs around there for a little bit, and then she passes out, and she wakes up about like 6 hours later. And another thing that's important, it's not really super duper important, but it's kind of important, is that because they're in northern Sweden in the summertime, there's like the midnight sun, like the land of the midnight sun. That song, you know that song when they're talking about the midnight sun. It's because like the Earth is like the northern hemisphere is like facing the sun, and so it doesn't get nighttime. It's something like that, and so there's like barely any night throughout the course of this movie. That's going to be important for our escape plan. But yeah, and she wakes up and it's like bright as hell outside. She's like, "What the fuck? Is it tomorrow?" And he's like, and the manipulator comes in and he's like, "Yeah, from yesterday's perspective." Like he just resents her so much. He hates her. He like he like answers her question like the most passive aggressive way possible. It's like this lady just freaked the fuck out and ran in the forest on shrooms for 6 hours, and you're like, "Yeah, I guess so, if you want to put it like that." And so she wakes up in the middle of the woods, and like the rest of the group is like carrying their backpacks and stuff because they're going to the commune now. Like they're not the actual commune, and so they're not in the commune to begin with. They're like in this field that's like just outside of it. So they all go into the commune. And as they walk in, the commune is like, it's like kind of idyllic, you know what I mean? It's like there's beautiful flowers and shit. It's like in this valley between the mountains. There's all like these beautiful like rustic looking buildings. Everyone's dressed in white. Even like the goats are white, which is another. This is where our black dude should have fucking took. Oh hell nah, fuck. I said I wouldn't do it. I already broke it once. So what's the point now, dude? It's like I fell off the wagon. This is my heroin. You know what I mean? I can't stop myself from doing it. He should have. Oh hell! Now everybody right in here. What the fuck is going on, man? Even though he's like, he has like the whitest voice imaginable. He's like a full nerd. He's like getting his PhD and shit. He's like, something's off here. And so they walk into like this idyllic commune, and Mark, who's our eyebrow boy, he says something about how it's like Waco or whatever, and it's like, hey. Look, he's kind of a dick, but he was right about that one. They should have got the fuck out. It's even worse than Waco. I don't think Waco was getting this active. So they walk in, everyone's dressed in white, and the commune is doing like a ceremony, like a midsummer ceremony, like kick off the festival. You know what I mean? This lady's like, she's speaking, and so she's like, and like that means let's get active. She was singing what's that song? The Black Eyed Peas song, Let's Get It Started. You know what I mean? That's like the basic equivalent of what she was doing. Yeah, so they walk in, they do that, and like as like the ceremony's going on, they start like a dance. It's like a weird, it's not like a conga line, but like they're all holding each other's hands and like running around and like skipping and shit, doing like a weird little dance. And as they're doing this dance, Danny's boyfriend Christian gets kicked by like this girl, and he like looks up at her, and like in front of Danny, they just complete disregard for her. Is like, yo, can anyone join in this dance? And he goes like right after this girl, like not like kicks him, but like, you know what I mean, puts her foot on her. Which a freak ass bull like me, she would have regretted that decision immediately, dude. I'd be taking off those ballet flats and sucking on those toes. That's another thing. If you're ever in a cult, just get so fucking freaky. Just turn into Diddy. Just like bring a couple of bottles of baby oil with you just in case. Just so you can like spray them on people at random and be like, hey, let's get freaky. You know what I mean? And then they'll kick you out. Hey, I'm just giving advice. And so he joins in on this dance. And so he leaves Danny and Pele. Those are the only two people like in that group now. Like everyone else is doing the dance, and like I think Josh is taking notes, and Mark is like, he has like this big ass vape. He has like if you've ever seen that picture of Chris Griffin hitting the vape, that's what he's got. He's got like the big ass box mod, so he's probably off vaping somewhere. And so it's just Pele and Danny, and during this time when it's just Pele and Danny, Pele gives Danny a drawing of herself for her birthday, which Christian forgot. And this is another manipulation masterclass by Christian. And I think Danny's kind of like done with him at this point. So like, or Pele gives like Christian a piece of cake to give to Danny, but like he does it in clear sight. Like they're in the same room, and like Danny clearly sees him doing this, and so Christian is like, "Hey, I got a surprise for you," and she's like, "I know you forgot my birthday," and he's like, "I'm sorry, you should be mad," and she's like, "I know I should be mad," which that should have been Christian. So you can't really blame him for dancing with the girl. He knows it's done. He knows that everyone's done. So he gives her this piece of cake, and that's not really too important. You just got to know that like their relationship it's at the end. You know what I mean? It's like a sick dog. It's like a dog covered in lumps. It's just like, why are we doing this? Just kill the fucking dog. And so later, the group is at a community feast with the two eldest villagers, goddamn, as guests of honor. So it's like this big ass table. Like they got it set up in like a weird way too. And you got to know another important thing about this commune is that they're really into like runes and stuff. And like if you ever meet like a white person that's like really into runes, you would know like that's just the same as voodoo. They're just trying to do magic all the time, and like this table's set up in like a rune pattern, I guess. And these two old people are like sitting at the front of it. All right. And so later on, like the whole group, this whole like feast group goes to a cliff where the first geezer, it's a dude and a chick geezer, and the first geezer, she jumps off this cliff, hits her head straight into a fucking rock, kills herself immediately. All right. And everyone's like stunned. And it cuts to Danny, and her like head is like, it's like everything's like throbbing, like everyone's talking, and it sounds like the Charlie Brown parents talking. It's like womp 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 womp, you know what I mean? Like she's all fucked up from seeing this. And then the other geezer, this part is like, it might be the funniest part in the whole movie. I think Mark, or not Mark. Yeah, no, Mark, the guy with the eyebrows, he's definitely the funniest character in this whole movie, but this is the funniest scene by far. So the other geezer, the dude geezer, who's known as like the laborer, I guess that's the only name they gave. They gave like the actual chick a name, but they didn't give this dude a name. But anyway, he jumps off the fucking cliff. And it's like a pretty tall cliff. I'd have to say like 60 feet, but he jumps off and just his legs just like snap in half, you know what I mean? He turns into like a fucking, like, you know how birds' knees face backwards? That's what happened to this dude. And this dude pulls up after he breaks his legs with like this big, like Donkey Kong, like Mario looking fucking like wooden sledgehammer and just bashes his head in. It's the funniest scene in this whole movie. And so when the geezer jumps off, he's like screaming and like wailing and stuff, and the whole group, like the whole commune, they start screaming like the way he's screaming. So he's like, and the whole group starts going, you know? So this whole scene is very, very funny. They got like a big ass like Looney Tunes cartoon hammer, you know what I mean? They just bonk him on his head with it. I think that would be funny if someone made that into like an edit. His head gets bashed in and it says, dong, dong. And so that's over with. And so the group goes back to like the thing. And during this whole ceremony, Connie and Simon are like the only people who are like actually freaking out. They're like screaming at the people, "Yo, don't jump. Don't fucking jump." Everyone else is watching it. And it's funny cuz like Mark, the eyebrows guy, he's just sitting there watching it too, and he's not even taking notes or anything. Like Christian and Josh, they're like there for their PhDs or whatever, but Mark is just sitting there watching it. He's just like, yo, this is like fucking live leak in real life. His dumbass. And so when they get back to like the village, the village proper, Pele like convinces Danny to stay and like kind of flirts with her, and he's like, this might have been his like get your chick back maneuver, dude. You know what I mean? Because he was just like, baby, I'll treat you better than Christian. And he's like kind of flirting with her a little bit. He's like, you really like Christian? You know what I mean? You stay here with me. We watch old people jump off cliffs and shit. It's you know what I mean? I'll treat you better, baby. Come on, I'll give you that good Swedish loving. You know what I mean? He like hits her with that. But the whole point of that is that he convinces Danny to stay. And the only people that like really want to get out are Connie and Simon. And at this point, I think Christian, Danny's boyfriend, he doesn't really know what he wants to do for like his PhD dissertation. But then he decides to do this the Midsommar festival. He decides to like write about that because he's like an anthropology type of guy, which is just, anthropology is so gay, dude. It's like It's like, it's their tradition. And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe killing old people, like, isn't the best move. And he hits the classic, like, we put our people in old folks' homes. And it's like, dude, old folks' homes are lit compared to this. They're high on pills all day, and they're just fucking constantly. It's like, you can't compare the two, that thing, to the suicide you just watched. So he hits the classic, like, American douchey thing. And like him deciding to write his PhD about this kind of starts some beef between him and Josh, but like it's just like a casual, like quiet, like fuck you, no fuck you, and yeah. All right, so later that night, Danny takes like a sleeping pill, and she has a bunch of nightmares. Like one of the nightmares she has is about like how her sister killed herself, and then the other nightmare, this part's also pretty funny. So in the nightmare, she like goes out of the building they're sleeping in. It's like what would you call that? Lucid. It's like a nightmare that feels like real life, like it's super realistic. I don't know if that's lucid, but she goes out of the building, and her whole group, Christian, Mark, and Josh are all driving away in a car, and this is like in the nightmare. And fucking Mark turns around and hits her with like that face, you know what I mean? Like the what's up face. He just like stares her down as they're driving away. Even in the dream, he's the funniest character. And so Danny wakes up from that nightmare, whatever. And so like when she wakes up and she goes out of the building, this is like a little later on, Connie is looking for Simon, but the villagers say that Simon left for the train station without her, which is like very weird because Simon and Connie are engaged. This does feel like a chick podcast now. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, Simon and Common were engaged, and then Simon left. And like crazy. It's unbelievable. He treats her like shit. I've had enough. And so Simon's gone, and it's just Connie in the other group. And so Josh learns that the commune's practices are based off a book made by a deliberately inbred oracle. And this dude he's all kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? He's like fully like, he like can't even talk. He's got like these big ass lips, you know what I mean? Like his lip goes up to his forehead. He's got a crazy look. And so he learns that, and they show him the book, and the book is just like, you can tell it was made by a special guy. It looks like, you know how like sometimes zoos for like a charity event or whatever will like auction off like paintings made by gorillas? That's what this book looks like. And so Josh wants to take pictures of like this retard book for his PhD thesis, but he learns that it's prohibited. And so later on, Christian is talking to an elder about how the village prevents incest, and he learns that the way they prevent incest is by bringing in people to like have kids with the villagers in the commune, the villagers. Yeah, and that's like part of his thing, part of the beef between him and Josh. I don't know. And then, like, during this scene, Mark takes out his dick and he's, like, pissing on this tree. But then it turns out this tree has, like, all the ashes of all the ancestors on it. And this dude freaks out. He runs up to him and he's like, what are you doing? Get the fuck off this tree. And he's, like, screaming in Swedish at him. And Mark's like, what, dude? It's a fucking tree. What do you want me to do? And even after he learns it's the ancestral tree, he's like, I'm sorry. It's just a fucking tree. I don't know. I had to piss. Like, he literally says that to him as if, like, dude, this is where all our ancestors are. So he became public enemy number one at that point. And so, yeah. This one dude just like spurgs at him. Mark completely doesn't care. And so later at the dinner feast, they're talking about Connie. They're like, yo, where'd Connie go? What's up with Connie and Simon? And then this random villager, just like someone they've never talked to, chimes in. He's like, oh, I know what happened. And he's got like a Swedish accent. He's like, Connie went to the train station to meet with Simon. She's like, Simon got Connie on the landline and calmed her down, and now she's at the train station. It's all perfect. Which that is Sweden in a nutshell, dude. It's like, dude, it's all fucking perfect over here. It's like everyone's killing themselves. They've got like immigrants cutting off baby heads. It's absolutely wild. That is Sweden in a nutshell, dude. Perfect over here. I doubt it's perfect. All right. And then at the dinner, Mark like sneaks off to like hook up with a chick. And we don't know what happens to Mark after that. Like, the group is like, where's Mark? And they're like, dude, he's probably just fucking that chick still. And it's like, if I know Mark, and I do, that lasted 2.5 minutes max. You know what I mean? It was just 3 grunts max. Is how long I think that lasted. So there's no way he's still with her. And so Mark is like kind of gone at this point, but they don't really know what happened to him. And so they go to bed. And then at night, Josh sneaks out to take pictures of the retard book and is killed by a villager wearing Mark's face. He, like, turns around like as he's taking these pictures and he's like, who is that? And it's like this dude who looks complete. It's like this short, like kind of like chubby dude. And he's like, Mark, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing in here? You scared the shit out of me. And it looks nothing like him. Like the dude's head is like 3 times the size of Mark's. And he's just like, it looks like Mark got a facelift. Like his face is stretched like so thin. It's like paper thin over this giant Swedish head. And Josh is like, dude, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? And then the villagers, like, they kill Josh. So Mark is dead, Josh is dead. We don't know where Connie and Simon are at this point. And so the villagers accuse Mark and Josh of stealing the book and leaving, which is like, I get Josh because it's Sweden and they're racist as shit, so they're like, it must have been him. He must have stole the book. No, it's because he was like interested in it. But it's funny to imagine that they were just like, who can we accuse and everyone will believe it? And they just all point the finger at him. I don't know. I thought that was like a funny thought. And like as they're saying this to Danny and Christian goes, we don't know these guys. We don't associate with them. We don't condone any of their acts. It's like, dude, you've been hanging out with these people the entire time and you're just like, we don't associate with them. We like don't fuck with them like that. It's like your best friend in the world that you like flew to Sweden with and you're like, yeah, I don't really know him that well. That's just what happens. And so that happens. And this is another thing. You can't let them put shit on you. You just got to be like a fucking American about it. Be like, dude, I don't fucking... What are you saying to me? You saying this shit? I did that shit. I'll fucking beat your ass. I'll fucking put my thumbs through your eye, you fucker. You got to hit that. And so, yeah. They like accuse him, but then they don't really do anything about it. They're just like, yo, what the fuck happened? And Christian's like, whatever. And so Danny and Christian split up to like do what the men are doing, and then Danny does what the women are doing. And so Danny goes with the women to a maypole where she drinks a specialty. And the maypole is like this big thing covered in flowers. That's like a theme throughout this movie. I don't know if it represents something. Maybe it's like, I don't know. It's to be like, oh, this is pretty on the outside, but in reality it means nothing. I don't fucking know. But it's like this big pole covered in flowers, and all of like the women drink this special tea. And so the women dance around the maypole until there's only one dancer left, and it's like they're like holding hands and they're like in a big circle and they're just like running around it and shit. And like Danny gets so high she learns how to speak Swedish. Fucking, I don't know. It's just what it is. Don't question the goddamn movie, okay? And they dance around it until everyone falls. And it's like part of the tradition because like some evil dude, they call him like the evil black spirit, showed up. And it's like, I wonder who they're talking about. But they're like, the evil black spirit showed up and made everyone dance until they all died. And so now, like, in spite of him, we all dance until we just fall down. I don't fucking know. And so everyone falls down and there's only one dancer left, and it's Danny, which like makes her the May Queen. And so at the same time, Christian is given like the same drink, like the same hallucinogenic tea, like while the dancing is happening. He's like sitting in the crowd and someone goes, drink this tea, and he's like, what's in it? And they go, just fucking stop being a pussy, dude. You know what I mean? They hit like the classic frat peer pressure. It's like, I don't want to drink a cup full of Everclear. And they're like, dude, fucking stop being a pussy. A frat is kind of a cult if you think about it. But anyway, he drinks this tea, and Christian is brought to the same building where like the 15-year-old girl, Maya, like the girl who kicked him earlier, she's in there. And this is where you start to get into like, is 15, you know what I mean? What does 15 even mean? It's like there's some really smart 15-year-olds there. There's like 15-year-olds in like college and stuff, you know? It's like, what does it even mean? But she's in there. And I'm saying this because she's thick as hell, you know what I mean? She got the things on her. She's got the cannons on her. She's got the village feeders on her, if you know what I mean? And so she's sitting there, and she's surrounded in like a semicircle. Like all behind her are like all the women of the village, and they're all butt-ass naked too, you know what I mean? And none of them got them things on them, you know what I mean? They're all kind of like, and this is where I'm like, did they get extras from America? Because they're all like these like chubby-ass ladies, like, not even chubby. It's like the way they're built. They're all built like melting ice cream cones. You know what I mean? And so they're all like in this semicircle behind her. And Christian, he beats it up while the women imitate Maya, the girls, like the 15-year-old girl. He's fucking, I just got to keep bringing that up because it's so funny. They're like imitating her moan. So every time she moans, they go, ugh. And I don't know. While I was watching it, I was like, how funny would it be if they did it for like a dude, but like just a dude jacking off? So it's just like a dude being like, "Ugh, ugh." It's just a bunch of dudes around him doing the exact same thing, just going. "Ugh, ugh, ugh." It just sounds like there's a bunch of zombies in this fucking building. Um, and so during this time, like the dance ends, and like Danny's with like a group of people, and she's like, "What's going on in that building? Like the building where like the people are, where Christian's fucking the chick." And she's like, "What's going on in there?" And they're like, "Don't go over there." And then she walks over to the building, and they said, "Don't go over there," but they don't stop her either. And so this is where I kind of think it's like a setup, like they're trying to let her know what's going on, trying to like distance her from Christian and like her American background and stuff. And so she walks over there, she looks in like the keyhole of the thing, which doesn't make any sense. Because during the scene where Christian's like getting ready to fuck the girl, so he walks through the front entrance and there's like a little lobby, but it's just like two chairs. So I don't know how she saw what was going on, because there's a lobby and then there's the room where he fucks the chick. So I don't know how she saw what was going on in there. Maybe she just like was still tripping off the tea. I don't know. But and she like starts freaking out and she starts crying and shit. And this other group of women comes up around her and they start crying as well, like imitating her cries and stuff. That she's like, you know what I mean, doing her cry, and the whole group is like, you know. I mean, it just sounds like a goat hospital, just a bunch of goats giving birth. That's what it sounds like. And so Christian, he beats the pussy up. You know what I mean? If I beat that pussy up, is you gonna tell on me? And they did tell on him, dude. He couldn't. Turns out, if you fuck a 15-year-old, there's some negative consequences sometimes, dude. Who would have thought? Who would have figured that one out? Old me over here. I was the one. I was the one that figured out fucking high schoolers is bad. Genius move by me. They didn't figure that shit out until like the early 2000s, I think, is when they figured that out, at least in America. Like every movie from the 90s, you know. It's just wild. And so Christian, he gets done and he's like, "What did I do?" And he gets up and he sprints out of the room. And so he sprints out of the room and he's just running around. And, you know, it makes sense why Maya was moaning. He's got the piece on him. It's I think it might be CGI. Like A24 loves making big dude dicks to make me feel insecure. This fucking assholes. I know that's why they made this whole movie, just to make me feel insecure about my penis. But anyway, Mark does have the hammer on him. You know what I mean? He's got Mjolnir. Maybe that's what that's why they let him fuck that chick. They're like, "This guy is Thor. Look at that big old piece he's got on him. You can see it dangling through his jeans. Holy shit." I'm trying to do Swedish voice to balance out the black voice, all right? And so he's running around butt-ass naked, and he finds Josh's leg buried in the garden. And this is where it just... So Josh's leg is like, it's cut off like above the knee, and it's buried upside down in the garden. So his foot's in the air, and like his knee is like buried in the ground. That's kind of what it looks like. And it's like, dude, I was thinking like a black tree. Like what would grow on a black tree? It's like, we planted this black man's leg so that we can one day harvest EBT off of... We can harvest Don Julio and honey packs off it one day. It's gonna turn into a beautiful tree that has airplane bottles of Hennessy on it. I don't know. That was like the only thought I had about it. That was like funny. I was just thinking like these dumbass Swedish people planted a black tree. But also his leg does have like a rune on it. I don't know what the rune means. Maybe it means like thief or like something like that. But it doesn't seem like they were planning on keeping him alive anyway. It kind of seems like an excuse they used to kill him. I don't know. And so while he's running around, he also finds Simon, who remember is missing. He finds Simon like hanging up in a chicken coop, and they hit him with the blood eagle. Yeah, so he runs in this chicken coop, and he finds like Simon hanging up in this blood eagle, which is basically they cut the back of your ribs open and they pull your lungs out. And I don't think people know how lungs work. It seems like, because people think it's like a balloon, like you inhale and like that fills your lungs up. And that's kind of how it works, but not really. The way breathing really works is you have a muscle called a diaphragm that's like attached to your lungs, and it pulls your lungs down, which creates negative space in your lungs that's filled with air. So that's how breathing works. Your lungs don't actually like self-inflate. They're inflated by the negative space that's created when the diaphragm is pulled down. And the diaphragm is also what gives you hiccups and stuff. And so the blood eagle, some people think, I was like looking it up because I was like trying to figure out like the meaning behind the movie so I can maybe put it in here, but then I was like, nah, that's gay. And also like this shit's like 4 pages long. Like I don't need all that extra shit in there. But like people were saying that it was like a hallucination to show how brutal these people are, or it was like a different type of hallucination to show like that Simon was still alive and being tortured. I don't know. It was nonsense. It was complete. It didn't make any sense. And so he finds him in this chicken coop, like hung up in this blood eagle, and this dude runs in with like a powder and like blows it in his face, and that paralyzes Christian. So Christian, dude, he's fully Stephen Hawking that dude. It's so funny. He's like, they're pushing him around in this old timey wheelchair, and his like arms are like dangling and like bumping around and shit. Like his head, he has like no control over his neck. He's just and he's like grunting. It's so funny. And so Danny, who is now May Queen, is tasked with choosing the final sacrifices, or like the final, like the last sacrifice. So there's 9 sacrifices. So let's see, 4 outside sacrifices. So there's 4 outside sacrifices, 4 inside sacrifices. So the 4 outside sacrifices were Mark, Josh, Connie, and Simon, and then the 4 inside sacrifices were the 2 old people and then 2 random villagers. And so now Danny has to choose between Christian. God, I almost said Question there. You can hear it, dude. That's how you know the episode's going on. But she had to choose between Christian and like some random villager, and she obviously ends up choosing Christian. And this is where like the part about people being like, he fucking deserved it. He's a fucking asshole. It's like, dude, we'll find out later on he didn't deserve it. So she chooses Christian, who is stuffed in a bear carcass. They like, if you've ever watched Workaholics, he's like kind of in like that bear coat that Blake buys. You know what I mean? He's got some drip on him. Hey, look, if I'm gonna be sacrificed, it's gonna be for the drip. All right, and so the sacrifices, the geezers, which are the 2 of the inside sacrifices, Josh and Mark, and then the 2 inside sacrifices, the 2 other inside sacrifices are Ingemar, who is Pele's brother, and the Spurg villager, the dude who freaked out on Mark earlier. And so I guess he was like, I fucking told an American what time it was. I freaked out on an American. That's it. My life is over. My life is complete. I don't know. And then Connie and Simon are all placed inside like this building that is set on fire. And so is Christian at this point now. Like Stephen Hawking out Christian inside this bear costume is also put inside this building that's set on fire. And so while the building is burning, Danny, and she's like covered in like this gown of flowers, she like stumbles over to the building and she starts crying, and she's like, ugh. I wrote wailing and not crying, which is maybe a more apt description. She's like, and the rest of the villagers also start doing the, you know what I mean? They're like rolling on the ground. They're like black women at church. God damn it, dude! It's Black History Month. They can't stop me. Not even Martin Luther King Jr. could stop me. And so they all start freaking out like a black lady at church. They're like rolling on the ground like, oh, Jesus, why are these people burning? Why do we got to do this? So they're freaking out as well. But the villagers, they keep freaking out. But Danny like stops crying, and she like stares at the burning building, and she hits like at first she kind of hits like the Marvel, like the Iron Man in like a Marvel movie grin, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, we're gonna get this guy. Thanos doesn't stand a chance. You know, she kind of hits that grin at first, but then it does turn into like a genuinely like kind of like creepy type of grin. And then that's the end of the movie. And so the theme of the movie, and this is where we get into like the survival section. So the whole theme of the movie is indoctrination, and like specifically like indoctrinating people. Like when you're getting indoctrinated, you don't realize it. Like that's kind of the theme of the movie, I guess. And specifically, it's an allegory about Nazi indoctrination, which does make sense because the director of this is a guy named Ari Aster, which, I mean, if you can't tell by that name, he's got some wild facial features. You know what I mean? He's got he's got a schnoz on him. You know, this guy's stealing the oxygen out of the room. If you know what I mean? Which, I mean, fair enough. It's like if you're Jewish and you don't direct a movie about Nazis or like somehow make a movie about Nazis, that's like an Italian not making a movie about the mob. You know what I mean? You just gotta do it at some point in your career. And so yeah, that's like the general theme of the movie. And so that's kind of like the first thing I wrote down is like the signs of a cult, like how to recognize that you're in a cult, how to recognize that you're getting indoctrinated so you can like get out or stay in. I don't know. Because like sometimes cults do rule. Like if you ever watched like a cult documentary, like the only people that get out are like the chicks. Like cults are constantly fucking, like the dudes are completely chill in the cult. So if you're a dude, you might want to stay in. You know what I mean? Get all the 15-year-old pussy you want. um. All right. So the signs that you're in a cult, it's a devotion to a cause, an ideal, or like a specific leader, and we obviously have that. They're like in love with like this idea of like, I think it's called Hagar, something like that, which is like their idea of a life cycle. So I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it's like based on the seasons. So it's like 0 to 18 is like the first cycle. I think that's spring, and then 18 to 36 is summer. That's another part of the cycle. And then 36 to 54 is another part, and then 54 to 72, which is why the villagers kill themselves because they're 72 years old, or like why they like jump off that cliff and they bonk him with a hammer. He did that because he was 72, which that's not that old. My grandpa's like 75 and he like still goes on runs and shit. Like, I don't know. Maybe in like rural Sweden, 72 is the age to go, but yeah. And so that's like kind of the ideal that they're like attached to, is like this idea that like life is like based on the seasons or something. But it's kind of, you can kind of tell, like obviously like there's these people that are choosing to live like the super hard rural lifestyle. So like maybe you can like kind of see that, but it's hard to tell as like when you're in it maybe. But I don't know, when the dudes kill themselves, I think it's pretty easy to tell at that point that these people got something a little off. And like they also have like these big giant like stones with runes carved into them and shit. Like these people are obviously, they're dedicated to something, and like, hey, fuck it, you know what I mean? But like, I'm an American. I'm not dedicated to shit, all right? I'm dedicated to buying the biggest TV possible. So I don't really fuck with your guys' shit, all right? I'm dedicated to myself and myself only. I'm dedicated to slipping on a floor at Walmart and getting a bag for it. You know what I mean? I'm dedicated for a 16-year-old forgetting to put out a wet floor sign. That's what I'm dedicated to as an American. So I don't really fuck with this shit. And that's what I meant when I say like be an unapologetic American. Just completely don't give a fuck about anything besides yourself. Don't try to don't give into their traditions and shit. Be an American. And so that's the first sign that you're in a cult. And like at first maybe it's a little hard to tell, but I don't know. When they jump off the cliff and they bonk their heads, dude, I think that's a sure sign that something's not quite right. And so the next sign that you're in a cult is a tendency to isolate members from outside influences. And it's like, it's there, but it's really not obvious. Because, like I said, they like let the people go on Rumspringer and shit like that. So you can't be like, oh, well, they completely isolate everyone. But it's also like emotional isolation. Like if this guy isn't able, like if a guy's like trying to like be like, come to Sweden with me to see my family. You know what I mean? It's like, kind of watch him, you know what I mean? See if he's like able to engage with other people in like a super deep, meaningful way. Or maybe he's just autistic, I don't fucking know. And so that's like kind of not super obvious. Even though they are super isolated and shit, they still let the people go out and like kind of do what they want. But they really only let a couple people do that. So I don't know, that one is kind of hard to tell. And then another sign is isolation, alienation, physical isolation, as well as emotional indoctrination. So this is where like if you're in it, like it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to tell when they're like trying to like emotionally separate you from the group, which is what they're trying to do to Danny. They're like, that was like the whole point of like separating her from Christian at the end, was getting her to like completely forget about all this shit. And so that's probably pretty hard to tell when you're in it. But I don't know, just look out for it. Be on your toes constantly. I just assume everything is a cult, maybe at this point. Because like, if you're like me, you're not gonna be looking out for the signs. So you just gotta assume everything is a cult. Never join anything. Never go outside of your comfort zone. All right, that's the message you got to take away from this episode. And then another sign of a cult is undue influence, or control of members' lives. And so this one's obviously super obvious. They make those two old geezers kill themselves. And also when Christian is like talking to the elders about like writing his thesis or whatever, he learns that the elders choose jobs and romantic partners for people, which that's That's an example of undue influence. So that one's pretty easy to tell. And also the geese. This I don't know. If you see a couple people kill themselves, I don't know, and like no one freaks out, just run. I think that's the main thing we're learning from this episode. But I guess in terms of horror movies, that's like the only thing. Like, you know how you like watch a horror movie and you're like, dude, that's so fucking unreal. Like no one would behave that way in this situation. Like those two old people killing themselves are kind of like the small miracle that you give to this movie to like be like, okay, it's realistic, or to like get really invested in it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes in horror movies it's hard to get invested because of how dumb the characters are. That's like the one small thing that you have to like forgive, or I guess it's not small, but it's like the one thing you have to forgive. But if you can do that, like the movie is really enjoyable. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's long. It's like 2.5 hours, but it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours. It feels like an hour and a half. It just flies by. It's really good. It like, I don't know, like the continuity of it all, it just flows so well together. It's a really good movie if you haven't seen it. All right, so another sign that you're in a cult is no room for questioning or discussion, which, once again, obvious when the geezers kill themselves. So when the geezers kill themselves, Connie and Simon are like asking questions and shit, and they're like, yo, what the fuck is going on? But no one like listens to them. No one like, and no one in like the crowd that's watching them is like, yo, should they really be? No one hits the fucking, you know what I mean, the elbow hit when you like hit someone in their side with your elbow. You're like, yo, what the fuck is this shit? What the fuck is going? No one hits that. And then when Connie and Simon are asking questions, they're like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Everyone's like, this is just the way we do it. Like that's basically the way they answer the question. They don't consider it or anything. They're just like, yo, this is the way we do it. And yeah, they don't listen to outside criticism at all. Which, I mean, that you just described me. Don't ask questions. Don't listen to criticism. Just keep on trucking. I might be a cult. And so a final thing that's like true about cults, or there's a couple more things. Sorry, I got to take a drink of water real quick. All right. So cults provide a sense of belonging and direction, as well as providing simple answers to complex existential questions, which is like, if you were like, what's the meaning of life? These people would be like, to live the 4 seasons. Obviously, you fucking idiot. So that's another sign that you're in a cult. When you're asking like big questions, everyone's like, dude, we already figured all this shit out. This one dude, this retarded dude, fucking drew monkey paintings in a book, and now we know how to live life perfectly. So that's kind of a sign you're in a cult. And so cults try to indoctrinate people who are emotionally weak, especially if the person is experiencing some like greater emotional or like life crisis. So that's another sign. And that's kind of what makes it really hard for people to realize they're in cults, is because most of the people in cults are like, their families don't fuck with them, or like their families are dead or whatever. They have like no job, they have nothing, no girlfriend or whatever. And so that's like how cults are able to indoctrinate people, and that's how that's why they chose to indoctrinate Danny, which is like, dude, they put all this fucking effort into like indoctrinating her. If you guys know anything about the Amish, they just steal kids. They're just like, yeah, we're not gonna try to convince you we're right. We're just gonna steal some fucking kids. You know what I mean? We're just gonna pull up to a trailer park at midnight, and any kids that are wandering around are getting took. And the fucking, it works. I don't know. It's like you can hate it. It's an effective strategy. You know, the Amish aren't going away anytime soon. They also fuck each other constantly and don't wear protection. That's another part of it. All right, and so these are some strategies for survival. First and foremost, all right, listen here. If your whole fucking family just killed themselves, don't go to, you know what I mean? If your whole family just died tragically, don't go to rural Sweden with your emotionally distant boyfriends and his friends who clearly don't like you. All right, you're like, what do I do then? You know, that was my only. It was either go to Sweden with a bunch of people who hate me, or there's no other option. Here's your other option. I got it for you. I'm out here answering questions. Like I said, cults, answer questions. What do you think I'm doing? All right, go to Cabo, be a whore, get blackout drunk every night until you're too retarded or too broke to worry about that shit anymore. All right? And if you're a dude, also be a whore. I don't know what to tell you. Go into like Tijuana and just like search for just like the most disgusting hooker you can find and just fuck her. You know what I mean? And then the next few days you're questioning yourself. You're like, yo, what am I doing with my life? What the fuck? Why did I fuck that chick? Boom. Now you're not worried about your dead family anymore. Or if you're a chick, just be a whore. You know, and the same thing will happen. You'll start questioning, like, why am I doing this? And then you're distracted from the problems. Or Alternatively, you never ask yourself any questions and you get blackout drunk every night until you're too retarded to think about it. Either way, you're not thinking about it anymore. Boom. Problem solved. Don't take mushrooms. All right. Next up. All right. Let's say you do ignore that perfect advice I just gave you and you do decide to go to Sweden. I'm going to tell you some things about where they're going. So Hälsingland is like the place where they go. It's like the province, which is like the equivalent to like a state in Sweden, but it's like the size of like a big county. That's how big Hälsingland is. But it's about as densely populated as Idaho. So there's not a lot of people there. So if you're thinking like, all right, I'm going to go here, but if shit goes wrong, I need to escape. Try to like get a map of where you are. Obviously, this is a fictional location, so I couldn't get like a good map. But I'd venture to say it's going to take you at least 8 hours on foot to get to the next town, which isn't too far. You know, you could do 8 hours. You know what I mean? You can muster up that courage. You'll be fine. And so the weather in summer is very, very good. And also there's lots of daylight. Like I said, midnight sun. It's light all day. It's like light until like 10 p.m. and then it's light, and then it's like dark for like 4 hours, and then it's light again. So you'll be all right there. So that's good for the escape. All right. Let's say you don't think of an escape plan. Let's say you're a complete retard. All right. Don't take mushrooms from strangers. Stupid. That was the only thing I got there. All right. And if you hear people talking about runes and shit, like I said, that's just white people voodoo. And either way, whether voodoo is real or not, whether you believe in it or not, or like magic, I'm not putting this all on voodoo. Voodoo is just like a small piece of that. If someone's practicing like this weird type of magic, that either means the magic works, which fucking, yeah, you're shit out of luck there. I don't know what to tell you. If the magic works, you're just fucked. I don't know. And if the magic doesn't work, that just means these people are insane enough to believe in magic, which is crazier. Because if the magic is real, you're like, all right, the magic is real. That's why you do it. You know what I mean? Even if it doesn't get the best results, even if it's really fucking hard, even if like some ancient eldritch god is like torturing your village. I mean, you know what I mean? But the magic works. It's like, what do you want me to do? Or they're crazy enough, which is more likely. So either way, if someone's talking about that shit, just kind of like step away quietly, and then you hit the sprint. You know what I mean? You take like a couple steps back, you look around a little bit, check your size, check your fucking, what's that? Your 3 and your 9, you know what I mean? Check either side of you, then turn around and just dead sprint out of there. That's what I would do personally. All right. And let's say you keep going at this point, which I mean, look, I wouldn't blame you, you know, especially if you're doing fine in life and you're not like this chick and like your whole family just killed herself. You're just like kind of chilling. You're like, fuck it, I'll take mushrooms in the woods of Sweden. What's wrong with that? I don't blame you at that point. All right. If you're with a dude and he starts fucking with a 15-year-old chick and they know she's 15, shit's gonna get hairy. So you got to get out of there. It's gonna get hairy, unlike that child's pubic region. You know what I mean? It's gonna get hairy. So you got to get out of there regardless. If he starts fucking with a 15-year-old, you just got to say, hey, I don't associate with this guy anymore. And the fact that you guys are cool with it, I'm out of here. I think that's the first obvious fucking step you should have taken to get the fuck out. All right. And let's say you keep staying at that point. You're like 15 and she's got big ass tits. All right, dude. You get a pass in my book. You got it. All right. Just don't fucking bring me into this. Don't make me fuck that 15-year-old with big giant tits. She's not 15. I did have to look that up because I was like, is this like a Romeo and Juliet situation? Like the 1969 Romeo and Juliet movie, which you probably watched in, what is that, sophomore English? I don't know, something like that. You see some titties and you're like, whoa, there's some big old knockers and that chick's hot. Fucking hell yeah. She was 16 in that movie. And so I was like, what the fuck? And you know how Hollywood is, especially with the big nose directors. You know what I mean? Roman Polanski, they don't really give a shit about age, you know? They're like, bar mitzvah, 12 years old. You're good. What was I saying? I did look up. The chick was like 19 years old when it happened. So if he did end up jacking off to that scene, which, nah. It's not the best jack off scene. You're good. All right? Don't worry about it. Yeah. And I was thinking during that scene, dude, I would be pissed as hell if they put like a big fucking like 70-year-old fat ass grandma in front of me while I was fucking this 15-year-old sniz, dude. I would have been so pissed. I would have made him put like the hottest chick in front. Look, obviously tits are tits. Wasn't the greatest selection I've ever seen in my life. You know, it was like a Chinese buffet. It was like there was some really gross stuff, but then there was like some shit that was like kind of okay over here. You're like, all right, give me a scoop it. You know what I mean? Give me fucking, it'll feed me. I'll be fine. So that's what I would have requested. God damn, we're at a fucking hour. All right. And another thing you have to consider is you're basically with like generations upon generations of homeschooled kids. Like that's basically what this is. They don't go out, they don't talk to anyone, they only learn from their parents and shit like that. So you're basically with a bunch of generations of homeschooled kids, which like might make you like forgive some of the weirdness. No, dude, don't forgive the weirdness. All right, say fuck them and leave. All right, don't forgive the weirdness. That's another thing. Be an American, don't forgive the weirdness. Just be the biggest bully possible. Just be the biggest asshole. Don't let anything get in your way. So all right. So if you stay and you don't make a plan after the Geese suicide, after the double Geese suicide and the hammer bonk, you deserve to die at this point. All right? And so here's where we get to a little bit of the escape strategy. You know what I mean? Because at first I was just like, just run into the woods. But at this point, you're like, fuck, these people are fucking insane. If they find out that I'm going to run into the woods, they're going to hunt me down. And I don't know if they have guns, but I don't know. They might pull out some fucking Skyrim magic on you, hit you with a fireball. So this is where you gotta make your escape a little sneaky. So don't make it obvious you're trying to escape, because they'll just chase after your ass. All right. If you go on foot, hit a light jog. All right, because that's what humans are built for. If you've ever seen like those documentaries about like the hunter-gatherer people, they're not sprinting after these animals. They're just kind of hitting like a nice walk jog. You know what I mean? Like a nice, probably 5 miles an hour, 5.5 miles. Nothing too crazy. You know what I mean? But you're an American, so you're probably going to go like 4 miles an hour. And they're Swedish, so they're just too big of pussies to do anything about it. So you're good. Just hit a light jog, and look for roads and water sources. And if you find either, follow it in the direction away from the village, and hopefully eventually it'll lead somewhere. And if you do find another village as you're hitting your walk jog, look out. You know what I mean? Because you just come from this crazy-ass village. Don't think that this village is... Don't assume that it's any different. You know what I mean? Watch them and shit. If you see a Geese suicide, all right, it's time to hit another village, you know? I don't know. This whole place could just be Geese suicide. It's like Idaho. What the fuck is going on there? Who knows? I don't know. Could just all be Geese suicide. So you gotta check that out. And this is kind of like a hard thing to consider, but the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you go... What would that be? If you go with the sun on your left, right? Yeah, if you go with the sun on your left, that means you're heading south. But it's like I said, it's like the midnight sun, so it's kind of hard to tell which direction it is in the sky. So just follow a stream or a road or something until you find another village. All right. And if you stay for a little longer, which I don't blame you because it's kind of like hard to come up with a strategy, don't eat the food or drink the drinks. We just saw that these people are out here putting whatever they want in this drink. At one point, yeah, this is another funny part of the movie. So when the 15-year-old chick is trying to get Danny's boyfriend to fuck her, she puts like pubes in like a meat pie for him. And she puts like her period blood in like a lemonade drink. You know what I mean? She gives him some pink lemonade. Some chunky pink lemonade. So yeah, don't eat the food or drink the drinks. You know, she serves them a nice little big bowl of pube salad and some chunky pink lemonade. Yeah. And so don't let like the tenseness of the situation get to you. You got to stay calm. That's important in survival situation. All right. I've seen Man versus Wild, survival man, outdoor boys. You got to stay. All those dudes, all they do is stay calm. They don't ever freak out. You got to do that too. And so call the Swedish police, which the number is 112, but make sure you get like the national Swedish police or something, because I feel like this is one of those things where it's like the local police could be in on it. It's like, I don't know, if I heard like screaming coming from the woods, like if I heard that ever, I would call the police. Just like a bunch of people I'd be like, yo, get the fucking cops down here. So you got to kind of assume that if there's any villages nearby, they're also in on it. And the number is 112. And I was like thinking about that. Is like, dude, If 9/11 happened in America on January 12th, no one would give a shit. No one would. They would just leave the buildings there. They'd be like, we'll handle that shit when springtime happens, all right? The sun's only out for 8 hours a day. I don't want to be clearing Rebel out. But it happened at like the end of summer, beginning of fall. You know what I mean? That hopeful time of year. If that shit happened in the middle of winter, no one would give a fuck. They'd be like, damn, that sucks. But you know what else sucks? Not seeing the sun ever. All right, fuck it. Leave the leave the buildings there. All right. And so another thing that you could potentially do to escape is they do have a couple of cars there. So the two cars they have is it's called a Renault. What is it? A Renault Scenic, which you're not gonna hotwire that car. That car's got like some advanced shit on it. But they also have a K truck, which is one of those trucks, like the Asian trucks with like the front face. You know, like the little ones with like the flat front of it, which is a very Asian truck. You know what I mean? It's like smaller. It's got a flat face. Whatever. Fuck it. It's like a representation of Asian people. That should have been a funny thing they did in cars. Make a K truck one of the cars. It's just got a flat. God damn it! It's windshield. It's got tiny ass windshields. Just thinking of that. If they put Asian cars in cars and all the Asian cars are just crashing constantly, like the continent of Asia has no people on it because or no cars on it because all the cars crash. All right. Um, Another thing when you're running, don't stop to rest. Just keep on moving. All right. Like I said, light jog. You know what I mean? Maybe you jog for like 5 minutes, then you do like a quick walk. Jog for 5. You know what I mean? Just don't stop. Don't stop to sleep. Don't stop to rest. Just keep on going on. And as far as water goes, most of the water out there should be pretty good because I think it's like kind of mountainous, so a lot of it should be like snow melt, which I think might actually be the worst. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it might be like the type that has like the most infections possible in it. I don't know. But try to find like a running source of water, like quick moving water, and hopefully that should get you through it. If you do find a big old lake or something, go out into the lake a little bit, into like, you know how like the top of the lake is warm and the bottom is super cold. Try to scoop water out of the cold part, if you know what I mean. And the final thing that you could do to make your escape better is try to find an axe or a knife before you dip. And these people, they're hitting human sacrifices all the time. They got axes and knives everywhere, so it shouldn't be too hard to get it. But like, if one person sees you take a knife or an axe, you got to know that the rest of the village knows you have that knife or axe. So also consider that in your plans. So that's how you escape, dude. Just hit the woods. Try to take a knife with you if you can. If you find a car, red to red is how you hotwire it, or sometimes it's brown to brown. That's, I think, the other way you hotwire it. Or maybe it's like you twist red to red together and then you spark brown to brown, and that's how you hotwire the car. I think that's how you do it. But you're probably not going to figure out, you know what I mean? It's going to take you like 5 minutes to hotwire the car. You're not a professional, all right? Maybe you could get Josh, and he helps you hotwire that car real quick, dude. Kia boy. All right. All right. Got a little racist this episode, but it's fine. Talked about 15-year-olds for a little bit. Look, that's in the movie. What do you want me to do? All right. That's all I've got for this episode. Hour and 10 minutes, goddamn. But that's all I've got. Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? We just keep on keeping on. We're Americans about it. We don't question why we do what we do. We just do it. All right. Yeah. See you guys on Wednesday, hopefully. Have a good day. Have a good week. Have a good month. Have a good year. Good semester. Good day at work. I don't know. You got a project going on. Hope that goes well for you. Yeah, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace. All right.